Hello and welcome to Following On, which is available on the Following On podcast feed or via the talkSPORT Cricket YouTube channel. If you haven't headed over to either and hit subscribe, then how are you listening to this? I don't know. England have won. They've beaten Sri Lanka. They've won an ODI in Asia. It's been a while since that's been able to be said, and they've done so relatively comfortably. They've beaten Sri Lanka by 5 wickets, all round effort really. Yes, Root top scored with 75. Yes, Harry Brook weighed in with 42. But 2 wickets to Overton, 2 to Rashid, 2 to Root. Just meant that Sri Lanka were battling. They were treading water for much of the game, and in the end it was England that came through. Let's look back at all the action, and we're going to hear from some of the players as well over the course of the next 15-20 minutes or so. I'm alongside Mark Machado, who is the host of the Murali End podcast, which focuses on Sri Lankan cricket, and also Jarrod Kimber, who he hosts 2 new podcasts. That's it, really.
All the other podcasts.
All the others. First off, let's start with you, Mark. Look, 1-1 going to the final match in Colombo. I mean, the series has been an engrossing one so far. I wouldn't say it's been the highest quality matchups we've seen in recent times, but it's been competitive, it's been interesting, engaging, and sometimes the deficiency of the team can be just as interesting as the opposite. But you know, England needed to win today, and truth be told, despite losing what looked like a good toss to win, they kind of were on top for the majority of the game, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, I always think when Sri Lanka lose early wickets, they look vulnerable. That's what happened today. Patham, Kamal and Kusal weren't able to get going. Patham and Kusal made starts, which is what you want to see, obviously, but they weren't able to capitalise on it. There's a lot of players in the Sri Lanka side in the squad who are kind of fighting for spots in that T20 World Cup. That's the big thing that they all want to be part of at the moment. And there is a few players you can see really fighting hard. I think DDS, Dhananjaya De Silva, put in quite a good shift with bat and ball. Charith Asalanka did well again with the bat and kind of contributed with the ball. Van der Sey was brilliant with the ball. For me, though, the issue with this side is there's just a little bit of star quality lacking. There isn't that player that you can chuck the ball to when you need to get a wicket, or that player, or the ones who should be getting runs at the top of the order didn't today. So we were kind of from the back foot from reasonably early on, but we saw so much good fight from it. I think there's a lot of positives to take. I'm looking forward to the third match.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll be bringing that to you on Tuesday on the talkSPORT 2 and the talkSPORT Cricket YouTube channel. You know, it seems these days that everybody's a wicketkeeper, Jarrod, but today everybody was a bowler. 15 bowlers used, and it's not quite a record, but it's only a couple shy. And really, it was it was interesting to see, but I felt England today, I thought Harry Brook shuffled his pack well, like he did in the first ODI. England bowled well today, and they were also backed up in the field.
I actually think they bowled better than the Sri Lankan spinners today, and Sri Lanka probably let themselves down a little bit. So I think it's not that often that England out-bowl the other spinners from the opposition. Generally, it's their batters that step up, and today I think you could argue that they both played a very big part. So I think if you're Sri Lanka, you're a little bit upset that your spinners probably haven't bowled to their full potential. But also the big difference, and I think Mark just pointed out then, Patham Nissanka and Kusal Mendes are the two sort of, stalwarts is the wrong way of putting it, but the people that you trust the most in the top of the order, and they have to make a lot of the runs. England have 2 players that are very similar, and they got runs out of their players. They got runs out of Duckett, and they got runs out of Root. And if you look at the last game, Kusal Mendes was the one who went on to make the run. So I think they're very dependent on that. But if I'm England, I'm pretty happy with the way my spinners bowled today, all things considered. I thought most of the bowlers were very good, whereas I just thought too many times Sri Lanka just bowled a poor ball when they didn't need one.
It surprised me, actually, Mark, that England did seem to get, apart from Van der Sey, they seem to almost get more spin at times. I haven't seen the breakdown, but when we were watching Will Jacks bowl some absolutely dynamite deliveries, you think, well, if Will Jacks can bowl like that, no disrespect to Jacks, then wow, what can the Sri Lankans do? And apart from a couple of deliveries from the leg spinner, didn't quite see that. That was something of a surprise.
Yeah, there's always a conversation to be had because Sri Lanka's traditionally been so reliant on part-time spinners, and they've gone into today's game basically trying to get 30 overs from 3 part-timers, and it's this thing. You might have gotten away with that in an era before there was so much franchise cricket, before England white ball players were so used to playing spin in the subcontinent as they are now. I don't think you can get away with that anymore. I don't think you can be coming in with expecting to get 30 overs from Jarrod, Charith Asalanka and Dinith Walalage. Walalage probably isn't quite as good as he's got a long way to develop in his game, but at the moment I don't think he's causing as many problems for bowlers as Sri Lanka hope he will be for batters.
I think the issue at the moment is that those are 3 part-timers. Well, Walalage is being picked as a bowler, and he certainly, I think one day he will be a bowler. I think one day he might be a genuine all-rounder. He's so talented and so young. But the big difference is that in Dawson and Adil Rashid, you had 2 bowlers who are very, very experienced, and they varied their paces a lot better on this wicket. And you saw that with Van der Sey, and you didn't see it as much, I think, with the other the Sri Lankan bowlers. Maybe they don't have the skill sets to be able to bowl slow. As Cam was saying earlier, it's not particularly an easy thing to bowl slower than you normally do, and not everyone can do it. And I think if you're a part-timer, that's a bit tricky. But if you look at England, I thought they're at their best when they bowled slower with the odd quick ball put in. That's what Van der Sey did, and he was certainly the best spinner there. So you probably just needed the ability to slow it down a little bit. And when they did, like when Dhananjaya threw one outside to Jacob Bethel, he got that catch. But too often they were bowling just a little bit quick on this surface, I believe. It's a very odd pitch, this, and that's why both of these games have been fascinating and not fascinating at the same time. Can you be fascinating and not fascinating at the same time?
You tell me, Jarrod.
I did.
In the first match, I think the turning point was there was a few turns in the road along the way, but Joe Root's dismissal, Dhananjaya still getting him out, LBW, that seemed to me that was the defining moment this game changed. What was the defining moment that this game changed when Kusal Mendis was run out? 68 for 3 at that point. He is Sri Lanka's best bat. It was a needless run out. You may disagree about whether he's their best bat or not. He was a top scorer in the first innings as well. I mean, that was a massive moment. I don't think Sri Lanka ever really recovered from that.
I think, dwelling on it, I think you're probably right there, John. I think that was the moment. If he sticks about, and even if that 26 just becomes a 40, then that extra kind of 15, 20 runs changes the game, just definitely the back end of it, and suddenly just that few more runs to play with, and maybe that's the moment.
I think it would have made that Asalanka comes in just a little bit later in the innings, and then when the likes of Lianage and Walalage come in, like they did in the first innings, first match, they just seemed a bit freer to just play the way that they could play, because they had to play like that because the overs are running out of touch. I don't know.
I would probably say that Kusal Mendis and Jarrod are the 2 best players of spin in these 11s. And this probably was a wicket where you needed to be not just a good player of spin, but an incredible player of spin. And I think both of those guys are. We talked a lot about Kusal Mendis in the previous match and how he changes his body shape to play spin. It's incredible to watch him in some ways. And Root's obviously a genius as well, whereas everyone else struggled at times.
Let's hear from Joe Root. He's catching up with Roshan. I think it's Roshan. Here's Joe Root anyway.
Extremely welcomed from everyone, and obviously enjoyed playing here. So. Yeah, it's nice to get the win on a very difficult surface.
Yeah, that was my next question. It appeared to be a very difficult surface, not just this one, but the next one. But you made batting look easy. Anything that you do batting on the surfaces, any adjustments?
I think just trying to take the ball as late as possible. I don't think that's a great wicket for ODI cricket, if I'm being brutally honest, but we found a way today and we adapted, learned from the mistakes we made in the first game, and both with bat and ball, and got us across the line. So from that case, we knew it was going to be a case of trying to maximise the power play, and then a couple of big partnerships. If a couple of guys batted for a period of time, and then it was going to be difficult for Sri Lanka to wrestle momentum back in their favour. So that's how we tried to approach it, and thankfully we got the job done today.
Yeah, well done, very well done. But you come from a hard tour of Australia, different kind of surfaces, these are different. What kind of adjustments? How do you make that adjustment?
I think just use experience, really. I've played a lot of cricket in the subcontinent, played a lot of cricket here in Sri Lanka, have an understanding of the different nature of the bounce and how the ball can turn, and trying to read the work out the delivery from the hand as much as possible, and as soon as you can get that consistent spin, the ball gets softer and a bit older, then it makes it a little bit easier. But at the start, when it's a bit newer and some skid, some spin, then you've got to be really precise with your footwork.
It's been a tremendous career for you. It's been a tremendous run for you. Congratulations. You made all of us really enjoy your batting with your skill and all that. Very well done.
Cheers. Thank you very much. Very kind. Thank you.
That is our player of the match, Joe Root, and what an innings he played. And let me now talk to Charith Asalanka, the Sri Lankan captain. Well, bad luck, Charith. You had a good start, but where did it go wrong? I mean, 219 was never going to be enough.
Of course, yes. I think we were short at least 30 runs, and a few areas when we were batting, I think Kusal's run out and my dismissal and Janit's, Dhananjay's, few areas to need to improve, and yes, we were short some runs.
Yeah, do you think that there was enough urgency in your running between wickets? Because it appeared that it wasn't the case. Or have you seen something else? Or did you notice it?
No, I didn't notice that, and
especially converting ones into twos.
I think we have to be smart enough, because with this heat, I think sometimes it's really hard to push all the things to seconds. So because we have to concentrate and we have to save our energy sometimes. So I didn't notice that.
Yeah, it was still a tough wicket. I mean, if you compare it to the first game, and I mean, what was the difference? What do you think England did differently in this game?
I think credit should goes to their batters, especially Joe Root and Harry Brook batted really well in that middle period, and I think we were trying a lot and in the field, and bowlers I think did everything, but credit should goes to them.
You should be quite happy with the way you guys fielded, because you were quite sharp in the field. Yes, there were a few fumbles, but overall that box is ticked.
Overall, yes. I mean, past recent 1.5 years to 2 years, our one day, especially ODI side, is brilliant in field.
It's nice to set up for the final. Does that bring extra pressure, or are you excited? Or just tell us your thoughts looking at the third game.
It's very exciting, and just want to do basics right again, and our combinations right, and just want to make a big 100 from one batter.
Very well done, at least in the last game. Bad luck today, and all the best.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Right, that is the Sri Lankan captain. Unfortunately, the losing captain. Can I now invite the England captain, Harry Brook, to first sign the lemonade fan of the match, match ball for him, and then come across and collect US 2000, the winner's check of US 2000 from Dr. Jayanta Dharmadasa. As the match winner's check, that's the ITW match winner's check from the Vice President of International Cricket of Sri Lanka Cricket, Dr. Jayanta Dharmadasa, who will present the match winner's check. And congratulations, Harry. You must be pleased that losing streak away from home has been finally broken.
Yeah, definitely. It's nice to get a win away from home, and yeah, on a tough surface, but we're happy to get the victory.
See, we've seen two different surfaces, two different approaches. Anything that you guys planned differently to play here? Because your approach was far more different than the first one, particularly in the middle order.
Yeah, the pitch is probably the worst pitch I've ever played on, and you had to go out there and adapt as quick as possible and just try and get off strike and get the other batter on strike. But I thought the bowlers did an amazing job there to bowl that side out. Obviously, they're used to these conditions, so to bowl them out was awesome work from them guys.
Any particular plan with the spinners? Because you had 6 spinners, and that was the first time that England had ever played 6 spinners. And we did see that there was a deliberate attempt to try and bowl slow.
It was just rotating the spinners, really. Obviously, we lost Creeps for selection this last night with his knee, so we brought Jaxie in to replace him back in the middle order, and obviously he did a really good job with the ball as well.
Yeah, I just want to ask you about Joe Root, the way he bats, and I mean, he is an education. I mean, you could learn so much off him. Is there anything that you found special in his innings and what you learned off him?
Yeah, he's an awesome player. His ability to be able to get off strike and put the bad ball away when they slightly miss is awesome, and he's a phenomenal player to have in our side.
There's absolutely no doubt about it. I think he's one of the modern greats. Congratulations, great win, and all the best.
Thank you. Cheers.
And that is the England captain.
Okay,
and
that was Harry Brook speaking with Roshan Abhisinga. The worst pitch Harry Brook has ever played on. If you're following us on talkSPORT Cricket YouTube channel, you would have seen our reaction. That is a surprising thing to say. Joe Root also made reference to the track. I don't think it was that bad. I'm not playing on it. They'd know, I suppose, but that's a surprise, right?
I think it was a tricky wicket. I think you're right to say it wasn't a standard ODI wicket. And we talked about that on air. That is not the worst wicket that Harry Brook has ever played on. I'm pretty sure. I haven't seen every wicket he's ever played on, but I don't think that's the worst one he's ever done. Mark will probably tell you, though, that that's a good thing because everyone in Sri Lanka wants better batting wickets anyway.
Yeah, so there is a school of thought in Sri Lanka that Sri Lanka would perform better if they weren't producing these spinning decks, both at home and away from home in the long term. Thing is, it's 2 weeks before a home World Cup. They ain't changing the pitch for Tuesday. It's probably too late to do that anyway. I wonder though, how many times did Harry Brook have played on a deck that spins like that? Probably not that many. It's a bit of a throwback game today anyway, wasn't it, to kind of late 90s, early noughties ODI cricket.
It was a challenging surface. Like, no one's doubting that. It's not the worst pitch that anyone's ever played on.
Well, he's just played in some pretty tricky pitches. I mean, maybe...
Melbourne?
Yeah.
Perth?
Brisbane?
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I'm quite surprised by that. But then I suppose he hasn't played a huge amount in Asia. And the Pakistani... Hang on, what about the third test?
I was about to say, wasn't there a wicket in Pakistan?
When they had a big motorised fan at one end.
Weren't they bowled out for nothing in the fourth innings or something? Yeah, I don't understand. Look... He is a very raw person, and I think he says things perhaps without always thinking them through. I don't know. What were the wickets like in Noosa?
He's not the most media trained.
That's what I'm kind of saying.
And we like
that
actually.
Yeah, no, which is fine.
We shouldn't jump all over. He's, you know, in a year's time, he probably doesn't phrase it like that. He phrases it like Joe Root phrased it, and we don't. Our eyebrows aren't raised enough. The point is the same. He and Root both feel that pitch wasn't great fare for the viewer or the player, but we've just been saying how engaging and engrossing these two games have been. I wonder, it won't be the same strip, but I wonder what the pitch is going to be like for that third game, which of course takes place exactly here at the Prima Dasa.
John, I got back from Sri Lanka a few days ago, and in Sri Lanka all anyone is talking about is England turning up and then the World Cup afterwards. The England captain comes out after the second game and says it's the worst pitch he's ever played on. That could cause I'm not joking here, that could cause a political crisis. That could be a whole, beyond the stewards' inquiry. This was a huge moment for Sri Lanka as a place. And for the captain to say that is absolutely huge. I'm hoping there isn't a massive reaction to it, but you never know in Sri Lanka, anything can happen.
Maybe they won't allow England to play the World Cup there.
Soon?
Maybe England will refuse to play the World Cup there.
There's way too much respect in Sri Lanka for the English cricket team. The reaction will be, oh my gosh, how can we have been in a situation where the England captain has said that? I'm going to enjoy watching how people react to this over the next few days.
It's a good point, actually, and one that I suppose we should tread quite delicately around. But, you know, there is pride. Right, and there is a way to talk and there's a way to act, and you do have to be aware that sometimes things that might be brushed off in this country or in this culture will be taken quite differently in another. I know that's something that whenever you travel to another country, you have to be aware that there are certain ways you may go about things at home that you don't act in the same way overseas. So it's a very good point, actually, Mark. A statement like that will be picked up on, certainly by a lot of people in Sri Lanka, as, you know, a massive criticism of Sri Lankan cricket.
Yeah, I think it will just open the debate up. The debate was there anyway, right? Are we producing the right kind of pitches to prepare our team in the best way possible? So I think this is kind of opening it up a little bit more. When Darren Sammy said something similar a couple of years ago, the reaction was, we need to win, we're going to produce pitches that we can win on. Harry Brook saying it, I think, is slightly different just because of the way
he's the captain.
Yeah, he's the captain, and you know the weight that English cricket has in Sri Lanka, and they're desperate for England to come back as much as possible.
Also, they lost the game, so the argument that we need these pitches to win on them when you've lost the game doesn't really help anyway.
England were bowled out for 112 in Rawalpindi, not that long ago. So surprising, but fair enough. Okay, I'm slightly surprised that we've kind of gone that way, especially when you consider that that was actually a decent innings by Brook. He scored some runs alongside Joe Root, and once again Joe Root just before this match and during the mid innings we highlighted the importance of Joe Root to this run chase, and it is an obvious thing to say, right? But it's proved out that way. If not for his innings, then maybe England would have stumbled. And once again, it was a surprise when he was out because he was batting brilliantly.
Yeah, I thought they probably waited. I think when we were on comms a little bit before that, I was thinking this is probably the time to try, seam for a little while. Yeah, just because their spinners just weren't quite on it, and so it gave Joe Root a different look. It was a good delivery, just clipping the outside of leg stump and everything else. But I think probably in this game they trusted their spinners, and they didn't quite deliver Sri Lanka. Whereas I thought it was an excellent, micro spell when he came back with the seam. They needed something else. But I think if you look at batting, bowling, and fielding, England outplayed Sri Lanka pretty handily today. So they definitely deserved the win.
Okay, looking ahead to that third ODI, which we're bringing you on talkSPORT 2 and the talkSPORT Cricket YouTube channel. Sri Lanka were unchanged today, Mark. Do you expect them to make any changes?
No, I think they'll make some changes for it. I don't know who'll come in and how they'll do it. I don't know what Harry Brook's comments will mean for what pitch we end up playing on.
Roll out a synthetic surface.
I suspect there'll be some bowling changes, but I think the batting will likely stay the same.
Yeah, I can't see too much movement with the batting, but there's not a huge amount of bowling either, is there? Because, of course, two of the guys that you would expect would come in if it was a World Cup final, say, they're probably not going to play. Tikshana, I think, is in the squad. Well, Hasaranga's in the squad as well, but it would be a surprise. But that's one option for them. What about England then, Jarrod? I mean, Jax was back today. He bowled very well. He was there at the end. The Rayan Ahmed up the top of the order. Position. I imagine it could just be Zach Crawley coming in for him. What about another pace bowler? I mean, the fact is that England have just bowled 6 spinners, so maybe they'll be happy just to stay with as they are.
Yeah, I'd be interested to see if Zach Crawley doesn't play, if they just move Will Jacks up the order and go about that. But perhaps if they're going to use him, later on in the next couple of weeks down the order, maybe they want him to get used to coming in lower down. But that would be the obvious change for me. I think that I can't see how an extra pace bowler is going to bowl all that much more at the moment. So I'd probably stick with it from that level. And it'd be interesting to see if Zach Crawley's around and how he goes. This would be, I can't think of a wicket that would have suited Zach Crawley less than this, because his hands are always in front of his body. He would have hit everything in the air until he was caught. So if the wicket's similar to that, it's going to be a real challenge for him to wait for the ball to be under his eyes, which is basically what Joe Root said. He said, well, how did you bat on this wicket? I waited for it to be under his eyes. Kane Williamson somewhere is just going, yeah, that's cricket, guys.
And Jacob Bethel's dismissal today is
his hands were not in front of his eyes. He can barely see his hands, they were so far away.
And truth be told, the Sri Lankans as well, Nasanka.
Oh, yeah.
Nasanka, there was a couple, actually. So, look, masterclass again from Root. He was very angry to be dismissed. 25 short of a century. Could have actually reached 3 figures. Would have been his 20th. Big thanks to Mark.
Thanks for having me.
Always welcome. Jarrod as well. Cameron still. Jarrod and Cameron are going to be combining for Super Over. So that'll be available on the talkSPORT Cricket YouTube channel. Also on the following on podcast feed.